I cannot but feel very happy about the developments that happened in Egypt yesterday. During the times where all of us had almost lost hope that the time of mass movements have actually gone and nowhere we will witness people actually coming and asserting the need for their freedom. What happened in Egypt over a period of only 18 days has given all of us, I feel whoever believes in the idea of freedom, which incidentally is the main idea we are dealing with here in the class, a kind of hope. Hope that despite all the troubles, despite all the problems, there is still some place for all this in our world. But again, I do understand that we have to look forward to caution more than ever, because worldwide it has been experienced that people start their new journey with optimism. Soon everything will collapse. Somebody can actually do a study of how, when some great countries have taken birth, how committed they were to the idea of freedom. And afterwards, how did that idea of freedom get eroded? Compare the birth of a country like United States of America and India. Just try to study the differences and similarities between the Declaration of Independence in 1776 in US and Indian Constitution. How do these two countries, how did they deal with the idea of individual freedom? And over the years, how has it deteriorated? Somewhere in your life you should find time and study this. More specifically, I wanted to study the first amendments of these two countries. The first amendment in Indian Constitution, probably none of you will know. What was the first amendment in Indian Constitution? But first amendment in US Constitution is known to us. Partial. Because anybody who is a resident of USA will take great pride in first amendment. It's a very great cultural symbol for them. Somebody should do a study of, it's very interesting. What was the first amendment for US Constitution and what was the first amendment for Indian Constitution? Actually, it's very, very interesting. I will not go further because I will come back to my actual course. You please see what was the first amendment there, what was the first amendment here, and how do they relate? Very strange coincidence. But Indian, everywhere, the founding fathers will have some vision. Whenever I have some time, I go back to study the debates of Constituent Assembly. It's one of my favorite time pass. To see how people actually debated and how did they come up with these things. How strong they were in their value system. I can give you a small example. On the issue of Kashmir, which is of very close interest to me, I have seen the Constituent Assembly debates. At one particular point of time, Sardar Patel and Jawaharlal Nehru had great differences about a particular issue, which is still haunting us. And it seems Sardar Patel made a list of his opposition to that particular issue. But when the debate commenced in the Constituent Assembly, that particular day, Nehru was not present. And Sardar Patel, being a very good gentleman that he is, did not oppose Nehru's idea in his absence. He thought it is not polite for you to criticize someone when he is not you are not indulging in discussion about these issues, then it's not good. Probably you should all come together to discuss such issues. Probably over a cup of coffee or tea, you should be discussing Egypt and other issues. Because it is people like you who have actually driven something there. And we all feel very proud because there is a role for internet activism there. Definitely. So you should all be very seriously looking at it. Because as I have already made my point yesterday, when we are discussing about free software, I am taking a very large perspective because I am not simply discussing software here. The issue is not at all about software. Software is a side story. The much larger debate here is about freedom. But increasingly software is becoming important because software is being used to control the freedom of others. And more than ever, today all of us should be very, very careful. This is not very new. There is this nexus between science, money, power, business. This nexus is there from a very long time. It is not if yesterday something happened and all this trouble with ISRO and other things happened. This is there from a long time. I can give you one small example of a very interesting story. I was very curious about how this whole idea of bottled water came. That was very important for me because that could lead me to understand why software became a commodity later. Commodification of water and commodification of software has parallels. Because tomorrow there may be commodification of air. Very real possibility. Third semester when I was studying fundamentals of modern business, I remember saying someone, I was encouraging everyone to think of ridiculous ideas to make business plans. And I told someone actually to make a business plan for selling oxygen, commercially like water. Then they just laughed and probably those people man thought this guy has got completely mad. 10 years before even I thought that somebody told me that water is being sold, I thought these people are mad. Who can say that? Then I went into the story. How actually this happened? Very interesting story. I think the story should be told. Because nobody tells the story. That seems like suddenly everybody started buying bottled water. The story is very interesting and as technologists we should know this story. The story goes like this. Once upon a time water was available freely and the whole idea of selling it was considered to be sin. Garuda Purana has a particular punishment for selling water for price. This is punishment. Water was free, zero cost. During the Industrial Revolution, when people began to invent anything and everything using machines, one person thought of inventing something that was disposable water cups. That was the starting point. Because there was water fountains everywhere. I am talking about England. There was water fountains everywhere where people would draw water and drink whenever they wanted. And London was very famous for having this public water fountains where people felt they are drinking water. So he thought that a business opportunity exists here for selling disposable water cups. Now that is a very big story. We teach a subject called as engineering design these days. You have not learned it unfortunately. These days we make it mandatory to introduce people to what is engineering and how to think about design and other things. I think this case study could be appropriate for that class also. See, basically designing a disposable water cup is an engineering problem. You should have a dispenser for that cup. That cup, how will you design? How will you design? Think like an engineer. Of course, the main of the cup itself is an engineering problem. That should be, the material should be cheap, but it should be water resistant and all that. It should not sweat. In the sense, some things sweat more when it's very cold. I don't know, better word. So the cup should not sweat and other things. Technical problem. Along with that, one more problem is there. See, cups are shaped in a very different way. But last time I was having engineering design, the entire course I spent designing a coffee cup. One full semester designing coffee cup. That was my agenda. Cup design is an interesting problem because if you shape your cups like this, then making a dispenser for it is difficult. Think about how to make a dispenser for a odd shaped cups. It is a technical problem. So he solved the problem by making those cups as folded ones. They were folded. You should drop the money, get those cups in a folded, then open the fold and then be full shape and then you take the water. That was how we designed. Good engineering design, correct. But then the problem started. At that particular point of time, there were public cups placed. And his cups, disposable cups, came with certain money. You had to drop money and get those cups. People were not attracted towards that disposable cups. Because first of all, these cups were solid and they were strong. But these disposable cups came in folded manner, so they had to open and all those problems. And they had to pay for it. Then what that guy did was, I forgot his name. I was remembering his name for a long time. That man, he went to a scientific laboratory for publishing a research article in major newspapers, which studied the number of bacteria and other things which is present in the public water cups and the possible dangers due to that, health problems and all that. So that was a commissioned study from that person, published. Research was published in the newspaper. See, if you drink water from these public cups, so many people using the same cup, this many bacteria, that this all the numbers were published. And slowly, but surely, people began to use this. That was the first step. So the first step was using the cups and getting rid of the public cups. That was the first step. Then this rail thing, this rail transport gained much importance over roadways in most of the developed countries. And there was a need for this water facilities, stations and all those things came. And soon, on the other hand, what happened was there were many companies competing for this disposable cup scenario. Then somebody came up with one more idea. That instead of simply gaining market advantage by selling same cup, all the business tricks that we studied, differentiation, innovation and all that. What actually should happen is you should differentiate from other companies. How do you differentiate? Instead of simply selling cups, you sell cups with water. That was the next step, to gain a business advantage. That happened, and again same problem, people were not attracted. So one more study was commissioned on the quality of water in public available places and the bad effects due to that. Published result, everyone going, doctors coming, huge publicity. Then everything changed. So, science somewhere becomes a partner in crime. In many of the developments you will see this. For example, in PET, the present discussion going about asbestos, probably tomorrow it may happen about many things. Nuclear power, for example. Science somehow has become a kind of pawn in the power game. People will move it for their advantage. Even today you will see, slowly there will come some advertisements in the newspapers about falling water quality in the cities. And then suddenly you will see that all these water purifier companies releasing big ads saying this is the quality of water that is how they will pure water happens. So once which was something freely available will soon become a commodity which should be done as a commercial transaction. This happens slowly. But this is what happened with water and other commodities, and this happened with software. But software, it was a other problem.
So, So in this context, you had mentioned in your business classes that there's a huge conspiracy behind the whole water business model, be it in Bangalore and in India also. But then you did not elaborate on it.
Some other day, because I will come back and finish prepared.
Okay.
As we saw yesterday, software has a peculiar problem in the sense that an intangible thing now has become commodity. How to do that is actually a challenge for human being. It is actually intangible, but there is a lot of commercial value. I have seen over time, if you see the human history, the things which are gaining more commercial value are things which are more abstract. Things which are physical are their values will start diminishing after a particular point of time. See, for example, in the initial times, land was something which was owned and transacted. Right? That was physical commodity. Gold and other things, all physical. After a point of time in the industrial age, machines made humans irrelevant. Human labor then became a commodity. It's some kind of abstract thing. Human labor. Before industrial revolution, there was no concept of human labor being valued. I am talking about salary, to be very precise. In agriculture economy, land is a basis for determining your power, prestige and other things. It is a basis for everything. In the industrial economy, it becomes human labor. The establishment of factories and other things. Human labor becomes the basis for transactions. You work, I will pay. So what is that which is being transacted there? It is very difficult. Human labor can be I think can be understood somehow. You know, I work for 8 hours. I work for 8 hours in the sense, I come in the morning, I work on a machine and produce this many things, see that, give me money. How to calculate it is again a challenge. It's not easy. Now what has happened is, if you actually think, I mean, I am not against any of your personal decision. I am just curious. So don't take it in a negative, most of the people think. For example, if you have to decide the work in the information age and the salary is being paid, what will be the basis for it? What should be the basis for it? I don't know actually. It's very abstract. See, for example, a person who is working on a machine producing, for example, 10,000 some plastic components per day, say, we will give you money. Or in agriculture economy, I will say, you plant this tree and give me this many areca down, I will give this much money. That is quite clear. But in information age, how will you decide the work done by someone and how will you give him salary, compensation, package, CTC, whatever you want to call? How will you do it? I am surprised. Is there a scientific manner to do that? Can we measure something and fix? Why should there be large disparity? Why should someone pay, for example, as my relative in army, he got offer from a company since his package is 13.5 from last week. 13.5 for a fresher. Some people pay very less. For example, if you join as a faculty here, you will get very, very less. Why should there be disparity? I mean, the package he is getting even on principal is. So, a fresher, if he gets that much, a principal of a college like ours does not get that much. How is this calculated? I don't understand. What is that value a person will bring? How it is calculated? The whole idea, I think, we are moving towards more abstract things. It is not based on something physical. This happened in many, for example, today, see the whole fuss about spectrum. What is spectrum? I think it is very important for all of you to tell your parents, your neighbors, your friends about this spectrum because you know what is that and how it is valued. Very abstract actually. What is being valued are more abstract things. That is unfortunately. Software is one such entity. It is very abstract. To To make someone understand why software is so valuable is very difficult. And we have to see how to estimate the cost and other things. Next month, I think on 17th, I have to deliver a public lecture to DRDO fellows on life cycle cost estimation for defense products. And given 3 hours to deliver a lecture for DRDO. It's very difficult. Is it black art? What is it? People don't know. But we have to engage in some kind of discussion. So when software is transacted, how to control that is a question. As we were seeing yesterday, physical commodities are different, but with software there is a problem. People resorted by saying, let us use licensing schemes. Here you should understand that there were two possibilities with software. One is thinking software as a contract and thinking software as a license. There is a difference. If software transaction is considered as contract, then there is obligation on the part of developers. For example, say that what? Okay, you want to build a house. You want to build a house. You enter into a contract with the builder, and he has an obligation to do something. Tomorrow something goes wrong, using that contract law, you can go to court. Fine. This would have been applied for software, but that didn't happen. Why it didn't happen, and why did we go to licensing? Because licensing takes away this accountability from developers. Have you seen any software guy giving guarantee that this will work? No one will. There will be no warranty clause everywhere. No software will come with warranty. Software may be the only precious entity in this world which does not come with warranty. There is zero warranty. Developers will not take any accountability for software, though they take so much money for it. This happened, I think they did it in a very intelligent way. Today people don't know that they cannot claim any damages if something goes wrong with software. They cannot. Because it is licensed, and in license there will be a warranty clause written in capital letters. Everything else in the licensing agreement will be in small letters, but warranty will be in capital letters. But still nobody will bother to wait. There is no warranty for software. If it was contract, the case would have been different. Now it is license. Yesterday we talked about what are the general ideas of this license. Now what free software does is what we have to see today. Free software, I was telling yesterday, uses the master stroke by others was introduction of this GPL. What does GPL do? GPL actually imposes the free software ideas to licensing distributions. How did he do it? He did it by one more important contribution from his side, which is called copyleft. I hope all of you know what is copyleft, but I will just briefly tell you what copyleft really means, because there is some misconception about copyleft. Copyleft is not the opposite of copyright. It is not. And the public idea about free software, people everywhere, including in our institute, many people tell me when I speak about copyright, oh, you are against copyrights. We are not against copyrights. Copyleft is not a statement against copyrights. No, it is not. Copyright as an instrument is good. You know what is copyright. But what you don't know about copyright is, copyright intelligently has mixed two different things and they make you think that both these issues are same. What copyright actually gives you? What does copyright give you? Copyright gives you some rights. What right does it give you? Generally speaking, remember this very clearly, copyright gives you two rights. One, to claim your authorship. Second, to determine the terms of distribution. That's all. Copyright gives you two different kinds of rights. These two are different. One is copyright will give you the the right to assert your ownership. That is, you can take this work is mine. You can say that. Second is you decide what to do with it. You decide. That is the right it gives you. You decide the distribution, the ways in which it should be distributed. Now what has happened is, people have clubbed these two things together. This work should not be copied in any way. It is a standard assumption, but not the assumption. Now what people have done is they have clubbed these things together, and now people seem to think that when they say this work is copyrighted, they seem to think that that means by default that it should not be copied. This is a problem because you have mixed two separate rights together. This is not the case. You can actually take the copyright and then allow people to do whatever they want. That is possible. That is what is done in copyleft. So in copyleft, what we actually do is we first have to take copyright. You can't have copyleft without taking copyright. First take copyright. That is assert your ownership over that. Assert your ownership. Then say that now you are free to do whatever you want. If you don't take that right with you, you can't do anything. Very simply speaking, let us say this is software. Okay? What I am doing with the copyright is, I am saying this bottle is mine, nobody drank from it, only I drank. This is copyright. This is default way of identifying copyright. What we do in copyleft is, we say this, I am saying that this bottle is mine, but you please drink it. Very simple. These two are different and we are asserting that. So if you want to make your software copyleft, first thing that you should do is take copyright. Take copyright and then apply copyleft principles on it. That is, make it available to everyone in any form. Understood? This point should be very clear. That copyright and copyleft are not against and they are actually complementary to each other. How to actually put it in the software? We do it using GPL. Now, GPL license per se, I understand, is very difficult to read. And many of you, there is no need to read the complete licensing agreement. Only few people who are very, very interested can read the entire thing. For others, if you understand the basic concept, it's more than sufficient. I suggest that when you, if a matter of few months, when you go and start your work, you please get clarity regarding these things in your workplace. One, the project in which you are working and the code you are contributing to that. Who will code it? Two, if you are doing something being a member of that particular organization where you are working, will it automatically be a part of that organization's portfolio or it can change in rights? This kind of clarity you have to take. Otherwise, later at some point in time, when you have to assert some rights of yours, you will be in trouble. I have seen many students signing the placement offers without reading the 4-page, 5-page documents. The only numbers they will see is see the number. Without bothering to go through the info, 4-5 pages usually it will be. Please go through it. If you can discuss with some friends who have law background, other things, please get it clarified. One point I want to make it very clear, though it may not may not sound very sweet for some of you. I want to make this statement very strongly. Bonded labor does not exist in India. There is a law which prohibits bonded labor. So if there is an offer where the company will say, yes, you are placed, but give us this much amount of money, we will return it within 2 years with this much percent interest, it is wrong. It is against law. Or if the company says, you should not leave the company next 2 years, or else you should, it is wrong. Or if the company says, you should submit all your original marks card with us and we will give it back after this, it is wrong. And you have every right to stand up and say that you are not supposed to do this. if they deny you a job because of this, you can take appropriate action. Don't feel yourself subdued and bend your back and beg for something. Assert your rights, feel strong. This happens in campus because some of the times even the authorities don't make it a point to tell it frankly to students that these are your rights and this is what you have to do. Instead of simply accepting whatever comes the way as a big, what should I say, some kind of, I don't know, strong words. And I may be pictured as anti-placement guy and he does not want people to go into. Why should I? I have no issues. It's a personal decision. But you should be aware of these things, which is increasingly happening in the campuses because they do understand that students have this mentality of getting the first offer that they get because there will be so much pressures in the class also. Everybody is getting placed, somebody is not getting placed. These pressures will be there, but that does not mean that you simply, put all your self-respect and other things down and answer what you want. I don't think that is right. Why I am saying this is, the licensing terms most of the times for the software that you will do later, even if you don't understand it correctly, you will see that you tend to lose a lot of money. This has an economic angle. Let us speak business. If you develop something and say your company is making some amount of profit with that, what amount of profit you think you deserve? Do you actually get it? Or will they say that we are not obliged to give you because we are actually paying you salary and all the work you have done is a part of your daily job? These are very tough questions. Few people have asked these questions and they have benefited. Few people don't ask that question and they continue to suffer, thinking that whatever some amount of money they get, on an average scale, the salaries that you are getting is uncomparable. I agree. A normal graduate cannot even dream of getting the salaries that you make. That also gives enormous amount of responsibility on you. Don't accept some amount which is coming to you thinking that that's some kind of, what should I say, a free lunch somebody is offering you. It's not. You deserve actually more, but you are not demanding. So this licensing scheme will decide most of the things which goes on. If you are not aware about that, you stand to lose. In that way, GPL is a savior. Why I am saying this all this way? Because as far as possible, we should push for GPL. It has an economic benefit also. Because in GPL, through GPL, you can have more equal terms with your employer. You can. GPL has crossed 3 levels now. Presently, we have GPL version 3, V3. From 2007, we are on GPL V3. Why these different versions have come is, people have been using some of the loopholes, I should say, not loopholes, shortcomings in GPL to push forward few technologies, especially in embedded technologies, to restrict the freedom. See, in the nutshell, GPL is very simple. What GPL says is, the software which you have put under GPL should never stop user from having the 4 freedoms. That's what it says. And it is written in a legal language so that people will never do something to stop this freedom. But then there are some issues. You have a software. To run this software, you need a library. Without using this, you have to use the library. This is not part of this. To make this software run, you need this library. This software is a free software. This library is not a free software. Then what to do? They have to leave during runtime. What to do now is a question. For this, we have some other version of GPL. It's called LGPL. LGPL. GPL comes in 3 flavors. GPL, the main GPL, LGPL and AGPL. LGPL answers this question. of what to do when you have a non-free libraries which have to just link with free software during runtime. How to do this? How to resolve this? This issue is solved. Then there is of course one more license called as free documentation license. This becomes important because there is always this problem of people using free software licenses for software delivery, but somebody claiming ownership over the documentation issues like help manuals, user guides, installation guides, and other things. To solve this problem, there is free documentation license, FDL. So this whole bunch of licensing, you have to read them carefully. At least read them once. You will understand a few things. More importantly, compare the GPL with the end user licenses of proprietary software and try to find how different they are. Take one end user license of some software that you use, take GPL, read them. If there is any issue that needs to be discussed detailedly, I am not discussing in detail because I think usually the talk about licenses becomes utterly boring because there is so much legal issues involved. If and only if somebody wants a special knowledge about this license, I am willing to give. Otherwise, in general class, I am not covering this because it is not necessary for everyone. But mainly, you should understand these things. That GPL implements free software principles, that is, these 4 freedoms, in a legal environment so that it is acceptable in almost all countries today. There are some other licensing schemes which you should be well aware about. Most importantly, the Creative Commons license. This is a compatible license with free software principles which you can use to release your literary work and creative works. Creative Commons license answers 3 important questions. 1, whether attribution should be given or not. Second, whether somebody should pay to use it or not. Third, whether somebody is allowed to reuse your work or not. You can say yes, no to these questions separately. They are not linked to each other. That is, whether they should attribute, yes, no. Whether they can commercially use, yes, no. Whether they can remix, yes, no. You can set different things, and today even India acknowledges Creative Commons license, so you can use it. So you should be aware about GPL, LGPL, HPL in a very lesser way, free documentation license and Creative Commons license. If you understand this many things, I am more than happy. The last thing which I want to complete before I complete this first part of our discussion is again going back to and understanding one more time very clearly the relation, the friendship and the friction free software has with open source. Surprisingly, GPL is accepted as an open source license. It is. What is free software and what is open source is actually defined by their licenses. And neither Free Software Foundation nor Open Source Initiative have the license. They don't have the license. What they do is, you can write your own license. You have to submit your license to them and they will go through it. And if they find it in accordance with their principles, they will say yes, this is open source license or this is free software license. That's how it works. So there is a list of free software licenses and there is a list of open source licenses. But there are some licenses which are both free software licenses and open source licenses. It is very much possible. Nearly all free software is also open source. But most of the open source do not adhere to the principles of free software. That is unfortunate. And more importantly, yesterday I have made it clear what is the actual difference. My one appeal to all of you, see, this open source term has somehow gained popularity. But every one of you should take care to say very clearly that there is something called as free software, and as far as possible, try to use the term free and open source software. And one step forward, make people understand that open source necessarily does not mean free software. understand the difference between free software and open source through this example. Supposedly there is a software. There is a software which is neither free nor open. Some software is there. And say one person who is a free software enthusiast and one person who is open source champion. Both come in. How do they look this software? This will make you understand the difference. There is a software, free software person comes, open source software person. How is they different? Open source guy will just ask this question. Can I see this question? Both of them will see the working of the software and assume both of them are happy with the software. Open source guy will ask, can I see the source code? This looks good. If he gets the source code, he is happy. His question ends there. The free software guy will definitely ask the question of whether I can access this source code. Yes, no, separate. He asks the next question which is important. Does this software give me freedom? This question is critical to a free software guy, which the open source guy will never ask. So you should ask this question, not whether source code is available or not. That is a question for open source guys. Or more importantly, the question of whether this software is a good software or not. I hate that question. I have no problem in telling this very strongly that free software, for all good reasons, does not care about software quality. I can give you 10 hours of lecture on software quality, but free software has no issues with software quality. We are not bothered about software quality. What we are bothered about is whether you give freedom or not. What is the use if we have the best quality software which does not give me freedom? This is like saying, because this, say for example, they give good food to you in prison, are you ready to go to prison? Say for example, in the prison, they actually have a dietitian and they will calculate the calories and suppose they didn't do it, but on they are supposed to do it. They are supposed to give you newspaper, they have to provide you with all the necessary comfort, they have to give you good food. Will you go and stay in jail? If the answer is no, then why are you now saying or shying away from asking this question in software? And why are you asking all the unnecessary questions about quality? What is the use of quality when there is no freedom? Which is more important? Quality or freedom? This is a question for free software, because I have seen people talking about whether free software quality is good and proprietary quality is good. Even I have made such comments earlier. Such childish thing. Taking this operating system, see this will take this much boot time, take no Linux, this will boot within this, this has this cool feature, this does not have, and this is all childish. There is no point in boasting about the technical superiority of free and open source software. Though they are superior, though it's a matter of fact, but that is not important actually. What is more important is the issue of freedom. Does it give freedom? Again, I am making this distinction. Access to source code alone is not sufficient. That will restrict you and it will not allow you to speak about freedom. So, please don't use the term open source software. Use the term free and open source software. Emphasize on free term. Second, emphasize on the fact that it is not Linux and it is GNU Linux. These are two very, very important lessons that you should carry. This allows me to close the unit 1, which was the introductory unit for me. Next week, I will take up the second part of this discussion, which will necessarily focus on the research-based issues. For all these classes, I was referring, or you can go back and read Stephen Weber's Success of Open Source. From the next class on, that is unit 2, I am going back to the Wolf Lakhani, that kind of the second perspectives of free and open source.